2, 3. Yay!
Hey!
Okay, so here we are, another episode of How to Be Friends with Dave and Shawn. I'm Dave. Hi, Shawn.
Hi, Dave.
Oh, coming in hard and heavy, Shawn. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is our episode 4, and we have some pretty incredible stuff to talk about. One of the things that I want to start with is there's a bunch of people who watch this who are like total strangers. And whoever you are, that's awesome.
God
Thank you
bless
for
you.
watching this. Subscribe, like all of that stuff. But more specifically, like this seriously is about how to be friends. Before we started recording here, Shawn and I were just talking about how how many things that we have different, how many things that we have the same, how that makes our friendship really awesome. So, if you are watching this podcast, watching my friend Shawn just ferret around,
Yeah,
uh,
no, I'm listening. I'm listening.
then you are absolutely 100% welcome and encouraged to participate with this screen licking goodness we got going on. So let us know what you got. But we have things to say. Shawn, you
Yeah.
have things to say.
You know what I do? Man, I've been so tired. Like I have some of the show notes here, but honestly, I'm just gonna let you kick it off, and we'll see what direction this train derails in today.
Okay, so loaded stuff. We're gonna start off talking about movies. I have not seen Wonder Woman 84, which, to be fair, is kind of cool. It's got the blended release thing going on. I'm looking forward to my friend Shawn's review. I hear that he loved it. So we're gonna hear what
Yeah.
he has to say about that. We're gonna talk a little bit about mental health. There's a lot of people struggling with that, so we're gonna get into that. And we're going to get into a little bit of news, hopefully all in that order. But first, our sponsor for this week is, of course, the cathode ray tube. You forgot about our friend that used to burn in images to the screen on your television and your monitor. You forgot the laser gun that was in everyone's living room. It's still there. It doesn't want you to forget about it. The cathode ray tube, how TVs originally worked. That's right.
Yeah, it was the CRT. My gosh, great sponsor, fantastic. There is nothing I love more than turning something off and then hearing it crackle for 5 minutes after you turned it off. You remember that one? Like you'd be trying to watch television after your parents thought you were asleep, and you'd hear them coming, and then you'd turn off the TV, and then come into the room as you pretended to be asleep, and you could still hear, and the
Yeah.
screen was like still blue. So I was hoping they'd come out with something like a super hot ray tube and call it the Shark, but unfortunately we got flat screens.
We got
So
flat screens. They're not
we
as
got
good.
LCDs and plasmas and whatever, I don't know, folding phones,
But they don't
the,
weigh 1,000
the
pounds, so
space
that's
program.
nice.
Yeah, I actually have one at work right now that's waiting to get thrown away, and I keep asking around if, like, seriously, it's this
Yeah.
old CRT monitor. I've been asking around to see if there's anybody that has an old Nintendo or something like that because they don't play the same on new TVs.
Right.
But of course, nobody that I've run across cares for one. So yes, thank you, cathode ray tube. The
Oh,
only television that pops because it's actually a vacuum.
and by the way, okay, just a real cool experience shout out real quick because this is gone. A part of the news that I didn't bring up is that Nintendo has officially stopped the 3DS, which no one is going to be sad about. But there was one really cool thing someone did with the 3DS, and that was when Sega released a bunch of their classics on the 3DS. They had an arcade mode that used the 3D to make your screen look like an old CRT for the games, and they changed the graphics too. It had that like hazy, fuzzy look to them, and it was gorgeous. It's a shame that we don't get that anymore. Now it's all going to be virtual reality, bumping into walls and stubbing your toes.
Yeah, I will say I'm not surprised they stopped making it. There are two 3DSs currently bouncing around my house.
Mm-hmm.
They probably get used once a year.
Yeah.
The blue one that God, was it the blue one or the red one I took with me when I bought? Anyways, I got one for me, and then Keith has one, and then neither one of us plays them.
That's all right. You can still use them for home defense. You can crack someone's skull with that and still play a game covered in blood.
If I need an extra $5 at a pawn shop this month to pay rent, I'll take a 3DS. Exactly. Okay,
Now,
where are we? Where? Yeah. So where are we starting after this week's sponsor?
okay, so I follow Gal Gadot on Instagram. She seems really cool.
She does. Miss Weinstein seems like a very nice person.
So okay, I kind of saw the first Wonder Woman. It was a really nice gender remake version of Captain America: First Avenger. Let's see who's triggered by that.
Yeah.
I hear that this was a big improvement on that.
Yeah.
Would you like to elucidate?
I actually really liked the first Wonder Woman. I have not liked a lot of the DC movies. And I was a big fan of the first Wonder Woman. I like what they did there. Wonder Woman 1984 was a hot garbage fire. It was. I was angry that I didn't pay to see it because I didn't get the chance to demand my money back. That is how bad that movie was. And this is not just me, and this is not a DC Wonder Woman thing. This isn't like, I can't believe they remade Ghostbusters with people who don't have a wiener. It was an honestly just bad movie. And I just want to say this right now. Pablo Pascal, fantastic in it. His character, the way he plays it, is wonderful. Kristen Wiig plays a fantastic character. Chris Pine is wonderful because he's funny. And Gal Gadot, I think she did the best with what she had. And it's just an example that you could put a bunch of good actors in a movie, but the movie could still be garbage.
Yes.
And that's exactly what this was. It was just a 2.5 hours that I'll never get back. And it was just bad.
Okay.
I did not like it. And I was really irritated about that. But I watched this on HBO Max, and then I saw that there was Doom Patrol on HBO Max, and so I started watching Doom Patrol, and DC's credit went up with Doom Patrol.
Okay.
I really enjoyed that. Yeah.
Okay. I had a friend say that I needed to watch Wonder Woman 84 before you reviewed it, and I deliberately refused because it's easier for me to ask questions. When you say a movie stanks, like my brain goes right to I have no frame of reference. Okay, so you were telling me that the actors were wonderful.
Oh yeah,
and they did the best that they could.
Yeah.
So okay, Justice League, for example, between CG upper lip and writing the entire team out of necessity by forcing them to resurrect Superman just to be able to beat the Thanos ripoff. Okay, made sense why that sucked. Related or different kind of suck?
Actually, I would say related. What kills the movie is subpar CGI. It pulls you out of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
A plot that really is nonsensical.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, that's it. The CGI pulls you out of it. And you have these characters, these actors working really hard to keep you in the movie. But between the plot and the CGI, it takes you right out of it. It's a bad plot. And the script itself stunk. The people who delivered it were great. Do not get me wrong. In fact, I would say of all the actors, Gal Gadot was the worst of them. And I like her as an actress.
So that's a compliment to the cast as a whole, not a bag of
absolutely.
Right.
If you're supporting if you're basing it around Gal Gadot and you go, we're going to bring in Kristen Wiig and Chris Pine and Pablo Pascal, and we're going to have them be supporting actors, and then they knock it out of the park like they did. And I will say this, Pablo Pascal at the end of that movie, there's a really good scene between him and his son in the movie, and it's heart-wrenching. He plays it so well.
Yeah.
But you got Wonder Woman. There's a fight scene in a mall where it looks like they didn't line up the green screen with the actual thing that they filmed, and it just pulls you. It's so bad. It pulls you completely out of it. I wish I could recommend it because they're fantastic actors, but it's kind of like a reverse Nicolas Cage situation, right? Like, wow, it's a great movie, except it has Nicolas Cage and he's being a horrible actor in it. There's good Nicolas Cage movies and there's bad Nicolas Cage movies, and in this case, this is just a bad movie with great actors.
No,
hey, but kudos to Kristen Wiig, who like stepped into like a main role and just stomped it.
You got kind of a crush on her as a result of this movie, yes?
Oh, I've always had a crush on Kristen Wiig. She's funny as hell.
She is, but yeah, it feels like it would be making out with a set of janitorial supplies. She's all angles, man. She sticks and
that's so mean. No, I mean she just it was just really good to see. I like seeing comedic actors being given the opportunity to do something like that and just do a fantastic job at it. It just stinks that it's that movie.
Probably won't be the launching point of her.
And apparently, like a day after it, they announced Wonder Woman 3.
Oh, yeah.
Because the positive response we received from it. Yeah, you put it on your free streaming service. Nobody's going to say no to it. But honestly, if I would have paid $19.99 on Google Play to rent that movie, I would have been ticked. It was that bad. Everything in the previews, the preview that came out on YouTube, was a better movie than the actual.
Sad.
It was really good, yeah. So no, don't avoid it at all costs.
But that springboarded you off to Doom Patrol, which, okay, you love, and I want to hear a little bit about why you love it. But it makes sense to me that you love it because we are talking about the DC universe. And honestly, their best work is outside of their main pantheon. Their Constantines, their Swamp Things, their Doom Patrol, for example. When you get out of the Justice League, that's the best work in the DC universe. So I'm not surprised that you liked it. Tell me what made it great.
Well, here's the thing. First of all, I didn't have comic books growing up as a kid. Like, the closest I had was friends who were into comic books. And, of course, it was always Marvel, right? Like,
hey,
the friend that I had at the time, like, had the trading cards, the X-Men trading cards and stuff like that. So I didn't get comic books as a kid. So I have no frame of reference for what a show about the Doom Patrol should or should not be. It's very easy for us to say a show about the Joker or Harley Quinn or something like that should be this because they permeate, you know, they permeate everything around us when it comes to
they are ubiquitous.
Screen. Yeah, exactly. So I was like, Doom Patrol. I'll take a look at this. And I started watching the show. And first of all, if you want to do a show that's dark, and that's the reason this is on HBO Max, because this could not be on cable television, I would 100% go with DC, because DC does dark 10 times better than Marvel can.
Oh, I'm calling a foul on that, but go
You
on.
think so? Okay. Secondly, I started watching this, and and Brendan Fraser plays one of the characters.
Brendan Fraser's in this.
Brendan Fraser plays this, as well as Alan Tudyk plays Mr. Nobody.
Oh, you're kidding me. I love him.
And so Alan Tudyk as Mr. Nobody, if you allow Alan Tudyk to just crank up on the crazy scale, the result is beautiful. And I really, 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 really like this show. It's really, it was kind of slow, but as it starts to clip on, it's fantastic. Spectacular. Alan Tudyk breaks the fourth wall in it. How can you not love that?
How can you not love Alan Tudyk? Okay, and there's a set of nerds out there that hear the name Alan Tudyk and just cream their shorts, and then everyone else goes, who? He's that character actor who's been in everything. A Knight's Tale, Firefly,
He's a
Rogue
leaf on the wind.
One.
He's a
Yeah,
leaf on the wind.
uh, Tucker and Dale versus Evil. He's one of those actors where someone says, "Oh, I love this guy. He was in this," and people go, "Who? What?" He's like a Carl Urban. He acts well enough that he gets lost in the role, and you see his face. You're like, "Oh, that dude." But yeah, go Google Alan Tudyk right now. Tudyk, and yeah, you'll be like, "Oh, that dude, spectacular." So I got to chase that down because I love him too.
Oh, it's fantastic. So you have Diane Guerrero, who was on Orange is the New Black and Jane the Virgin. April Balby, who is she played Candy on Two and a Half Men. She's great. Yeah, Brendan Fraser, who is fantastic. Matt Bomer, he was on All My Children. He's been in a lot of stuff. He plays one of the characters. Timothy Dalton. You have
Timothy.
Cyborg. Yeah. Joyvan Wade, who plays Cyborg in DC like television shows, like on what to say WB. He's in it. Timothy Dalton, Alan Tudyk. Yeah. It's just really good. Mark Shepard, who was on freaking Supernatural.
Mm-hmm. There's gonna be some fangirls just panties drop.
Oh, dude, he's fantastic on it. I really liked it. So I was like, okay, all right, you made up for it. You made up for that hot garbage fire with this show, and it's in season 2, and you got to have HBO Max, but whatever. I had never really heard much about it until I just started watching it. It's not something that
I didn't hear about it until you mentioned it. I Googled it, saw a bunch of monsters in the picture, and I'm like, okay, sold. So yeah, absolutely down for that.
If you want to, if you're listening to this right now and you're like, give me the gist of the Doom Patrol, I'm going to tell you right now because I'm on here. You cover your kids' ears.
That means there's naughty things coming, so just make sure you're ready.
I just want you to go into YouTube and type in Doom Patrol orgasm scene. Watch that. It's 2.5 minutes long.
We might do it. I might post a supplemental, then Dave reacts to Doom Patrol orgasm.
It is fantastic. It is absolutely hilarious.
Note for that real quick.
Yeah, so I mean, no. Wonder Woman 1984, blah. Doom Patrol, yeah, watch it.
Well worth it.
Yeah.
Okay, so for those of you listening to this, we're going to get into a little bit heavy stuff in relation to your mental health. There's a lot of people struggling with mental health. Coronavirus is weighing us all down. 2020 kicked a lot of people's asses. 2021 is going to be a heck of a lot better.
As we are recording this, it is January 3rd, 2021. You know what that means? Everything's magically better.
Oh, magically.
There is no pandemic. I'm not currently waiting on a stimulus check that I supposedly was supposed to get 3 days ago.
Supposedly.
Everything's...
Now, that's a great segue because friends that I've had in my personal life have had to put up with me rubbing my hands together waiting for 2021 because I've had some extrapolated data that says that 2021 is supposed to be the apocalypse, the end of the world, all of that jazz. And our good friend for our news section, Michelle Nostradamus, apparently has a bunch of prophecies to say that this is the end of the world. As reported by The Mirror, there are several quote-unquote terrifying predictions coming for 2021. Okay. Did you review these, Shawn?
I haven't had an opportunity to. Give me your highlights. I'm looking at it right now. What do you think?
Okay, highlights. Supposed to be a zombie apocalypse, okay?
Okay.
I got into... Consider the source material with everything. This is clickbait, honestly. Next sponsor, I guess, is clickbait. What keeps the internet running? Oh, 10 tips to clear your bowels every morning. So I got into Nostradamus' book a little bit. You've got to extrapolate a little bit. He does talk about in this time the dead are supposed to rise again. People are saying that it's supposed to be a Russian disease that targets mostly young people. I don't know if that's going to be literally zombies or figuratively communism, socialism. We're going to see how that goes.
Yeah, it's really easy to take anything somebody writes and be like, he didn't mean it literally, he meant it figuratively. Not
Right.
zombie in the sense of zombie. Zombie in the sense of we will all create a grunge band and we'll be called the Zombies.
Oh, gosh.
I don't remember if the
Ah.
zombies were grunge or not. But yeah, it's really easy to interpret things the way you want them. However, I do like this. Uh, what is it? Soldiers will have chips implanted into their brains.
Yeah, okay. So the original text, which I don't have right in front of me, it's in French, it has to be translated, blah, 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 just talks about the unique characteristics of particular kingdoms' soldiers, which again is going to be extrapolated to say soldiers are going to have chips in their brain. Me, I automatically think, well, if active duty soldiers are getting chips in their brains in 2021, that means that the reservists won't get it till 2031. We're
Yeah,
okay for another
the
decade.
Marine Corps is going to get it around the same time as the reservists. Let me do my best History Channel here, okay? You ready? Because if anything, the History Channel isn't about actual history anymore. Give me a second
No,
here. You ready?
hit me.
Red leather, yellow leather. Red leather, yellow leather. From the tip of the tongue to the tip of the tongue to the tip of the tongue. But did Nostradamus really mean it literally? He wrote, "The newly made one will lead the army, almost cut off near the top of the bank. Help from Melania's elite straining. The Duke deprived of his eyes and Milan in an iron cage." But did he really mean soldiers will have chips implanted into their brains? What? How did you get that from that?
Thank you. Thank you. That was
What?
yes. Yes. So Shawn showing his skill, digging right out the exact quote. Yeah. Not going to be soldiers with chips in their brains, but because we got to hit the biblical stuff, we got to hit the apocalyptic stuff. No, I'm actually going to say because of the cost that would be involved in every soldier getting that, Apple is more likely to put a chip in your brain than the military. And people will pay way too much for that.
Yeah, the military's not going to put a chip in your brain. I'm sorry if you've people who think that the military does all this weird stuff and has this unlimited budget and whatever chip their soldiers have never been in the military.
No,
No,
there's
not going to have it.
so just for the fun
The
of it,
military wouldn't put transmission fluid in my Humvee, let alone a chip in my brain.
yeah, no. Yeah, for those of you gun nuts listening to us and want some gun nut stuff, I'm gonna tell you right now. Yeah, the FALs, the SCARs, the all of these other rifles that you see the high speed special forces out there using, yeah, they're quite superior to the M4, which is the standard issue weapon. But because the M4 can still be mass produced for the military for less than $1,000 a piece, and you're lucky to get a SCAR for less than 4,000, guess which gets the job? The good enough M4 compared to the top of the line SCAR.
I would argue that the military's buying FNARs at probably, I would say, 280 a pop.
You're probably right. The M16s were much cheaper.
Yeah.
But back to the end of the world. Okay, Nostradamus, again, this is an extrapolation, but they're talking about huge solar storms 2021. This is one that I like because stand by, shaky heady McShakehead. We are actually overdue, based on astrologers' extrapolations, for a great deal of sunspots to the point of producing EMPs. That sort of thing would absolutely rock
Which,
our
and
world.
it has caused blackouts before. What was it, the 70s or the 80s, where that solar
Hmm.
storm knocked out part of the power grid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're
However,
talking.
once again,
Hmm.
we shall see the water rising and the earth falling under it. But yeah, it could make a wave.
Yeah,
I
which
don't.
could that might be the next one. He's talking about we might get an asteroid
Yeah, okay. Earth
in the
will be.
sky. Wait. Should I take a shot at it? Should I?
Yeah, go ahead.
In the sky, one sees fire and a long trail of sparks.
Yeah.
Not as good as you all, but
I,
those of you who love your Bible, you're gonna be like, "Ew, wormwood hitting the earth, poisoning the water. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not calling that. But it could be cool. It could be fun.
To say the Bible's had a few thousand years, for that last third of it to happen. I don't think it's going to happen this year.
No.
No. I don't think so. If the Bible is in fact telling the truth about the end times, we will probably destroy ourselves before we actually make it to that version of the end times. Just saying.
If we're talking about symbolism, and if we're talking about figurative nature and so forth, it would not surprise me at all. Coronavirus has been a good example for that. Anything apocalyptic, probably be of our own creation, obviously.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But on to a little bit better news.
Mm-hmm.
We have several other items worth talking about here. Do you want to hit one of your favorites there, Shawn?
I'm looking. Well, I kind of want to cover what you're interested in because we do have a lot of good ones. What do you want to cover next?
Okay. I want to, since we brought it up,
Uh-huh.
and since we have many friends that are into the gun stuff, you sent me a Slate article that was pretty interesting.
The article itself is why I wanted you to read it, because honestly, it felt like one person who was writing it to set it up and then also responding to it because they were like trying to vent. It honestly, it was like too well written to be an actual article.
Okay, you may be right. I would not put it past someone writing a letter to themselves just to be able to vent. Okay, so quick summary. Someone writes into Slate talking about how upset they are that their brother, a cop, is carrying their firearm wherever they go in order to keep their family safe. And this person has decided, well, they can't be around this death machine, especially with children around.
Right.
And it really does read like it was just set. It was a spoon-fed question, whether it was handpicked for that purpose or written for that purpose.
It honestly feels like, to me, the author wrote the question.
Yes.
It's very unclear. It makes it very clear, like in the article, well, we're both police officers, but my brother is taken to carrying his all the time, including around his small children in his home. One of the things that it doesn't clarify is whether he's concealed carrying or not.
Right.
Okay. She refuses to send her kids over to spend time because she feels that her kids are unsafe in a home, which if you feel that your children are unsafe in the home of a police officer carrying his weapon, that seems weird to me.
It might be a you problem. That might not be. Yeah.
If you're, and listen, I've met cops that are totally anti-gun. I get it. They don't. They only carry their gun because it's part of their job. My question is this different if it's a concealed carry situation? If it's different, is it an open carry situation? If you came into my home and I was carrying my weapon concealed, would it matter? Is the problem that the kids shouldn't be exposed to the gun? Is the problem that you don't trust the person with the gun? Because here's me.
Mm-hmm.
If my weapon isn't on me, it's locked up. It's secured. That's just the way it is.
Right.
To get my weapon off me, you have to break a primary or a secondary retention device.
Mm-hmm.
The gun isn't coming out of the holster. My kid isn't getting the gun out of the holster. The gun only comes out of the holster if I need to use the gun. So it's an inanimate object until activated, right? Other than being intimidating if worn open, what is the danger there? Besides the person carrying the weapon?
Mostly, number one, ignorance. Anyone who's genuinely terrified of firearms is honestly ignorant to a certain regard.
Listen. I'm not cutting you off, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I absolutely understand why people are concerned about firearms.
Yes,
as long as their concern is the person with the firearm.
Right. But okay, so this is a well-worn controversial topic. The idea of guns in the home, education for the kids, necessity, safety, etc., etc.
Right.
You can't stumble onto a forum of any kind talking about firearms and not hit this point.
Oh, of course.
So I'm more interested in the people and their interaction. Like you say, it might be one person just doing it. It is definitely a person on a crusade trying to make a point, trying to impose. Anytime that you have a peculiarity that you're trying to impose on a person, you should reconsider in conjunction. And this was kind of fun. This is just a funny point. The person wrote in as standing your ground, which ironically is also the title for many states' laws allowing you to protect yourself with a firearm.
Right.
So it's a good discussion for
I
an
don't know. It's
example.
just it was less the argument she was making that irked me and more the fact that it just felt it's such a bad article because it feels like a setup question.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
My conscience is screaming that it's only a matter of time before something goes horribly wrong. I would say your problem is most likely with your brother and not the fact that he carries a firearm. Then I
Yes.
don't. I will open carry and conceal carry, and if I'm open carrying and I'm in my house and I'm in and out of my house or something like that, and don't get me wrong, I don't open carry so it look cool at Walmart. It's just more comfortable.
Mm.
If I'm just working around my house or bouncing between here and the shop, I'm just going to open carry the gun. And my family comes over and they know that I open carry. Nobody has ever gone, oh my gosh, we feel uncomfortable with. Nobody in my family has ever said, I feel uncomfortable with your gun, because they're comfortable with me and my training. And I think that's the key, right? They know if their kids come over to my house, there are not unsecured guns in my home.
What are you exuding with your presence?
Right. And they know I'm not drawing my gun to look cool.
And that makes people uncomfortable. And if you're the sort of person who makes people uncomfortable in general, you'll probably do it with or without a firearm.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're open carrying at, I'd say Walmart, but you can't do that anymore. If you're open carrying at like a Costco and it makes people uncomfortable, I get that. I get that. Yeah. Why are you open carrying unless you're waiting on your concealed weapons permit? Like, why would you do that for in general and anyways? I completely understand that it makes people uncomfortable. I love dogs. There's some people I see with dogs and I don't get near them because I don't trust the dog or the owner.
Correct. Absolutely.
It's just one of those things. So I just did not like this article. It felt stupid to me.
It did.
It's just a
and of course,
article.
If we're talking about what it genuinely appeared to be, which, like you say, seemed to be a person on a crusade, a person with an issue with their family member that they were projecting on something that they thought that they could get leverage on, any one of these different things, we are talking about a lot of what we see in the modern day, that a lot of people have a lot of emotions, that a lot of things are really bearing down on people, and a lot of people are just lashing out in a lot of different ways. So,
absolutely, yeah.
If you're still with us, this is going to be the meat and potatoes for the rest of this podcast, and it'll be a little bit more serious, but this will probably be the really helpful thing. So, in the course of our friendship, Shawn and I have really enjoyed the way that we foil on each other. I've felt like Shawn has been like the dude to make the better me in the regard of like, if you're listening to the audio version,
I just wanted to know if it would break your concentration.
That worked. Okay.
So we can foil on each other.
So So I look up to Shawn, like literally and figuratively. By the same note, I feel comfortable in saying that you probably fight more demons than I do. I have this crazy life, and the fact that like things have not bore down on me kind of illustrates how you and I work together well on things. So I've got some things to talk about in regards to the importance of taking care of our mind and our body and our spirit.
Yeah.
But this is something that you really wanted to make sure that we hit this week. Tell me what's going on, what you want to discuss here.
Oh, well, yeah. Let's follow up gun ownership with mental health issues.
Yeah, that's apropos.
See if this goes to court at some point in the future. No, it's very so. The holidays are extremely hard for me, and I try to openly talk with my kids and my wife about like my mental health. Right. So I have chronic depression,
Mm-hmm.
which, boy, man, there's a wide swath, right?
Yes.
Like
In everything.
of chronic depression, right? So the first thing that people usually say is, "Oh, you have chronic depression and you own a gun? Isn't that dangerous?" No, I chronic depression is a very wide ICD-9 code. Everybody, calm down. The problem is, I dealt with it for years and didn't know I had it. And so I thought that's how you're supposed to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was normal. I actually was not diagnosed with chronic depression until about 2 years after I enlisted in the military. Um, and talking to a doctor, because I never really went to the doctor that much. I wasn't too broken. But after talking to a doctor for about 20 minutes, he was like, "Oh, yeah. So you're aware that none of this is normal, right?" What do you mean? He's like, "Yeah, you're not actually supposed to feel this way. This isn't a normal thing." Um, so after that, I started being able to work on that, like the mental health aspect of it. But unfortunately, before that, before I knew it, it was extremely detrimental. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and it still gets very detrimental throughout the holidays, which is an issue related to me as a kid with my mom and stuff. And my mom had mental health issues too. When I say this, I mean my birth mother.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask me now who my mom is, it's my stepmom. I don't call her stepmom. I just call her mom because she's my mom.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the genetics of it and where I got this from,
Yes.
thanks, mom.
Right.
Um, so it got very hard during the holidays. I was having a really bad mental health week, and I was discussing this with my wife because and this is what I really want people to understand about this and why I talk openly about it. You can tackle it and make it much better, but you have to acknowledge it and work on it. And I spent many years working through it. Um, but it was a horrible, horrible mental health week. Ended up talking to my wife a lot about, just how I was feeling and stuff like that. Christmas always hits me hard. Um, and how I explain it to people is this: take the thing that you love doing the most or the thing you love the most and imagine you get no positive vibes from it whatsoever. So it is not an issue of you're sad. It is not an issue of you're lazy. It is not an issue of you're a dark and gloomy teenager who shops at Hot Topic. It is literally an issue of something that should bring you joy. Your brain will not release the chemical that makes you feel joy.
Correct.
And it gets so exhausting. So around the holidays, when you're supposed to feel all this joy and all this stuff like that, and everybody around you is eating pumpkin pie and singing songs, you are struggling to find that serotonin release. And
Mm-hmm.
it's there, but the difference is if you're experienced with it, I can sit and I can think to myself, it's okay. I'm not broken. I have a chemical imbalance. I am happy. I'm just having trouble telling myself that, then it's fine. But no matter how long I've dealt with it, I always hit these points where I struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that people don't discuss things like this enough. I think it's still, maybe not so much now. I think it's still one of those taboo things. And it's probably from lack of understanding. For instance, when I first met my doctor, I was like, well, here's my old paperwork and here's this, and I've been, diagnosed with chronic depression, and he's looking at the paperwork. It goes, okay, well, do you have any weapons in the house? And I was like, even my doctor
Mm-hmm.
jumped straight to, are you a suicide risk?
Right.
Yeah. So it's still, you're still, how would you put it when something has a negative aspect to it? I can't remember the word. Um,
There's yeah, there's still a connotation to it.
Right.
There's
There's still a negative connotation to it when you try to explain and discuss people with this. This is why I try to be open about it though, because if
mm-hmm.
people are having these feelings, I want them to have somebody to talk to. So this is the point that I want to make. If you have been having these feelings, one, talk to your healthcare provider. It's
Mm-hmm.
very important to talk to your healthcare provider. Two, if you have been talking to your friends and family and their answer has been, don't worry, it's just a tough time, you'll
Yeah.
get over it, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. That is such BS. It is
It does not
absolute
help
BS.
at all.
No, you can't get over it. You have a chemical imbalance. The power of positive thought will not work. Okay? If you put water in your gas tank and you think to yourself, oh, the car will run, it won't run. There's a chemical imbalance in the system. And that is what is going on with you. And do not let your family and friends tell you that everything's going to be okay or tell you that you're broken. You need to get the health care that you need. And if you try to discuss this without somebody who has the proper mental health care training or somebody who's never actually experienced chronic depression, you are going to get like the crappiest responses from people.
Right.
People are horrible with this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
If you tell people that you have PTSD because you served in Afghanistan and you were hit with an IED, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. That must be so hard, blah, blah, blah. If you tell people that you are sad and you don't know why, because you're always sad, you don't find joy in anything, they're like, well, maybe you should suck it up and get a hobby or exercise. It's this weird offset response. I will say this exercise helps. But
Yeah.
I would encourage you to talk to a healthcare provider and do not let people who have never experienced something like that tell you how to fix it or how you should feel.
Right.
Because it's BS.
What is it? Because, right. The two types of people that are listening to this, there'll be a bunch of people identifying very strongly with what you're saying. What you're saying resonates with people who genuinely have it. And if this is the first time that what Shawn is saying resonates with you, that's where you need to consider if it's legitimately a problem and go talk to a healthcare provider. Those who are on the opposite spectrum, okay, the people who are like, oh, just buck up, look, it's Christmas, blah blah blah. Okay, there's nothing wrong with being a positive influence for a person.
Absolutely not.
For being a friend.
Right.
Even that natural desire that we all have to try to fix another person's problems isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No.
But when you start thinking that you've got it and you are the first person in this 30-some-year-old person's life to be like, oh, just buck up. Okay. Consider this in all of many things. You're probably not the first person to do something in anything.
Yes.
So please consider. Now, okay, hold on. I might be putting you into a box here as well, because you deal with a person who has depression and say, oh, I can't cheer him up, but I should still be positive, but I should. No. This is kind of the point of the podcast. How about you forget about being the person who's going to cure this person's depression? Drop the crusade and just be that person's friend.
Right. And at the same time, you can only be friends with that person to a certain point. I know what it's like to be chronic depressive. I know what it's like to be around people who are chronically depressive. And one of the worst things as a chronic depressive person, I will tell you right now, is somebody who has depression who refuses to work on it. Because it's like bringing Eeyore to life. It is very hard to be friends with that person. And if your friends are telling you that they can't be around you right now, or you're too depressing and stuff like that, it probably hurts. You probably are. Yeah, that's the truth. But here's the thing. It's not your job to make other people happy.
Right.
Happiness starts with us, and then we expand it to other people. Don't get angry if somebody doesn't want to hang out with you because you're depressing. Just maybe take that as an indicator of maybe you should get help, or maybe that person's not the friend that you need right now, or something along those lines. Because I've been there. I've been on both sides of it. And I know that in the past, I was probably a really hard friend to be around, knowing what I know now.
I mean, I never minded you. You're a beautiful human.
When we were working together, I was at the point where I knew what was going on. So I can wake up now. Now I can wake up and go, oh, cool. It's gonna be one of those days, but it's okay. It's just how I feel. There's nothing wrong with me. It's just a chemical. I'm just, there's a switch somewhere that's not flipped, and I can get on with my day. When I was like in my teens, I would wake up like that, and it was absolutely crippling because you don't know why you feel this way. So you have to talk to somebody about it and work through it. And it should be somebody who knows what the hell they're doing.
This is a little bit of a shift, but your mental health, we'll portion it here because this can apply to a lot of things, but yeah, it's like my brain. Okay. Mental health, it really does have three parts to it, right? Mechanic fingers. Okay. You got to work on your mind. And that's the conscious part of it, admitting that there's an issue, going in and getting help with the issue, educating your mind about the issue, and then stimulating your mind through various different means in order to improve health.
Yes.
Right? Okay. You got to improve your body as well.
Absolutely.
You got to improve your own health.
100%.
Right, because poor mental health can drag down your mental emotional state.
And I can tell you right now from experience, if I was in better physical shape or had a better physical training regimen this season, I would have felt a lot better emotionally. From experience, I can tell you that.
Right.
Right.
It still remains 100% true to this day that the third portion is still your spirit, is still your soul, is still your being. And I say this even to people who are avowed atheists as well, because just because you don't believe in a higher power does not mean that you don't believe in the id, which is separate from your mind and from your body. Okay?
Right.
Maybe you think it's just a percolation of the subconscious. Maybe I'm going to speak to this totally secularly in this regard, okay? Yeah, okay. Atheists, if you're listening, religion did a lot of crap, okay? A lot of awful stuff throughout history. However, in the absence of mental health, in the absence of organized science, in the absence of a lot, there were people in various organized religions inadvertently acting as surrogates in that regard, okay? So you think about some of the things that religions have as a whole, right? Okay? Prayer is just another form of meditation, right?
Which is what I was about to, yes, absolutely. Meditation.
Right. Confession is another form of self-inventory.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it is okay to put your pride down enough to say that maybe the mental health universe doesn't have everything. Maybe going out and getting fit won't supplement that. Work on the intangible as well, because we have not figured out everything in this universe. And to be fair, religion throughout history, whether or not you believe in it, has had a funny way of filling that hole.
Yeah, it has, and it doesn't matter which religion it is, whether
it really doesn't.
With it or not, it does fill a hole. That mind, body, spirit aspect. If the mind and the body, not to use another freaking car euphemism, but if the body is the literal body of the car and the physical appearance of it, and the mind is the computer that helps run the engine and the transmission, and your mind and your body are in peak operating condition, the spirit is where you're driving to, right? Like, what is the point of having this finely tuned machine if you don't have a destination? And meditation has worked great for me. And when we talk about meditation, we're not talking about a specific type of medication and you have to use like a singing bowl and things like that. The whole idea is to stop breathe, even if you take 5 minutes a day, and recenter yourself. And what I mean by that is a lot of our energy is spent on other things and other people, especially if you're married and you're working a job and you have kids. Most of your energy goes into these things, and we don't have time to just sit quietly with ourselves.
Right.
And that doesn't mean sit and worry. It doesn't mean think about the bills. It just means listen to your breathing and bring yourself back into yourself. Mm-hmm. And it is amazing the difference that can make. It really can.
Yeah. I'm going to make an analogy that a lot of people can understand in this regard, which is treating emotional problems with alcohol, something that veterans do way too much.
Yeah, nothing helps depression more than more depressives. Oh, so hey, sick. Sorry. Keith, will you get me more coffee? You have Mama get me more coffee? Yeah. Thank you so much.
And those of you listening just got to hear Shawn's daddy voice. Isn't it great?
It's like Delta, except the service is good.
No, okay. So the analogy for alcohol is important.
Oh, I just got a text. We lost
Delta
my God. As a sponsor. Dang it.
You're turning on my point.
Now we got to use JetBlue.
Wait a second. Is Virgin officially bankrupt because I kind of like their colors?
Let's see.
Okay. Are you with me? Did you pull together? You got it? Okay.
All right, we were getting really dark and deep. I had to throw some humor in there somehow. I'm sorry.
You drink a little bit of alcohol because you had a rough day, right, and it kind of squishes out everything. Then you wake up the next morning and everything's still there. Taking no opportunity to center yourself is basically the exact same thing to the emotions. So long as you continue to bury your face in your phone, play video games, as long as you numb yourself instead of centering yourself, nothing ever really comes back together.
Right, exactly. No, it makes absolute sense. And if you're doing that with drugs or alcohol, and trust me, back in the day, a lot of alcohol. Mm-hmm. Trust me, especially when you're trying, you don't understand why you feel this way, and something will numb you.
It's very
easy and it's very cheap. And I joke about like things like White Claw and Trulies or whatever nowadays. And like tonight, listen. And here's the other thing: you can still enjoy these things. I had a couple Trulies tonight, which are basically like generic White Claws or whatever. But
White Claw.
Yeah, but if I'm taking a self inventory, which I do on a regular basis, and I will do that with my wife, if I do that and it's not a good mental health day, I won't drink, because it's just going to put me in a darker place. Yep. And I will go to my wife if I'm feeling a little weird, and I will ask her. I go, "Have I been acting weird?" And she will be honest with me and say, "You've seemed a little off." And she's really good. She's very intuitive with those things. She'll even come to me and go, "Are you feeling okay?" But I will do a check-in, not only with myself, but those around me. That's very important to me.
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the best barometers is how the people around you are viewing you, because it is very easy to self-medicate and drink and drink and drink. It's very easy to self-medicate and find yourself in a video game. It's very easy to self-medicate and watch a TV show, because like you said, what you're doing is you're ignoring your emotions, because it's easier to numb them and stuff them in a deep dark corner than it is to actually tackle them.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, you basically become an emotional procrastinator, and that's not going to pay off.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are hitting hard wall on time here.
I'm really enjoying this conversation.
I know. The good news is this is a topic that we can continue to hit a great deal. So what I'm going to say for right now, anyone who listened to this point, again, email, tweet, text, we'll get the information out here in just a moment. But
do you put the information in the YouTube video under the YouTube video?
Not yet. Someday soon. Okay. This is not our full-time jobs.
Right. Anyone. No, I'm just asking. I just watch the videos on my phone.
Stop poking at the thing that no matter.
Click here. click here.
I'm gonna reach through it now. Okay. So yes, I can be reached. Obviously, comment. We don't get comments, so any comment that shows up, we'll get email.
Pretty sure the only comment I've seen so far is from your brother.
No, this mostly okay.
One from me on the last video.
Latter-day Liger
Yep.
at gmail.com will also reach me. That's LATTERDAYLIGER at gmail.com. And you have a Twitter?
I do. It's I felt guilty once, which once again, nobody has tweeted me. It's totally cool.
We just talked about how he's depressed. Okay, people, tweet him.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. I don't need to get doxxed. But if you'd like to hear us talk about something, or you have a question about something, or me and David will just talk, and maybe we hit something that you want to hear about, and we didn't expound upon, let us know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So
yeah,
it's a baby podcast, and if you want your stuff to be like, was in a podcast, it's gonna happen, and it will hopefully continue to happen. And so that being said, you're amazing. I have been Dave.
I will continue to be Shawn for the foreseeable future.
And y'all have an amazing evening.
Or morning, or whenever you're listening to this.
Fair enough. Goodbye.
Yeah, I don't know. Bye.